Greeting. Let's talk about something that has been part of our society for centuries but continues to haunt us even today, that is caste discrimination. We all have heard about it, we have seen it, and so many have lived through it. But have you ever paused to think how this outdated, unfair system has become one of the major causes of poverty in India? Imagine it's the year 2024, a time of space exploration, AI advancements, and global connectivity. Yet here we are still grappling with one of the oldest and most inhuman practices known to mankind, manual scavenging. Yes, the grim reality of people, often Dalits, being forced to clean human waste with their bare hands still exists. And why? It's not just a job or an economic necessity, it's a living embodiment of deep-rooted caste-based discrimination. Let's see the history. Its origins are often traced back to the Vedic period 1500 BC, when the Varna system was mentioned in religious texts like the Rig Veda. The Varna system classified society into four broad categories. Brahmins, they are the priests and teachers. Kshatriyas, they are the warriors and rulers. Vaishyas, they are the merchants. And Shudras, they are the service providers. The caste system, with its origins thousands of years ago, placed Dalits at the bottom of the social hierarchy. They were labeled as untouchables, not fit for anything but the dirtiest, most degrading work. The rest of the society enjoyed privileges, while Dalits were burdened with the tasks that dehumanized them, like manual scavenging. What was this system really about? This caste system is about power. This system is about control. This system is about division. It was not about competence or skill, but about keeping an entire group of people oppressed and isolated, their dignity stripped away. For centuries, Dalits have been pushed to the margins of our society. They have been denied education, they have been forced into degrading work, and they were treated as less than human. This was not just a casual operation, it was a systematic operation, well-oiled machinery that kept millions of people chained to a life of indignity and deprivation. But in the face of such overwhelming injustice, there have always been voices that refuse to stay silent, even when silence would have been safer. We must also acknowledge that the darker chapters, those of Dalit massacres, where entire communities were wiped out in gruesome acts of violence simply because they dared to assert their rights. We have witnessed the Karam Chedu and Sundur massacres in 1990s and 1980s. In Karam Chedu, for instance, a small dispute over access to water escalated into a massacre where Dalits were slaughtered in broad daylight. Why? Because they dared to ask for what should be a basic right to them, access to water. These massacres were not just an act of violence, they were intended to send a message to Dalits: know your place, stay in it, or suffer the consequences. But every drop of their blood spilled has not been in vain. For every massacre, for every act of brutality, the Dalit movement has only grown stronger day by day. Each time they tried to silence these voices, 100 more rose in support. Now, fast forward to 2024. Have things really changed as much as we like to think? We have abolished untouchability in law, but caste still quietly determines who does what work in our country. Even in 2024, despite the laws, the social narratives have not fully shifted. Dalits still bear the brunt of unclean jobs like cleaning skewers, latrines, and garbage dumps. Why? Because the stigma attached to the caste is so deeply ingrained in our collective mindset. In India today, more than 1.3 million manual scavengers still still risk their health and lives to clean human waste without any protective gear. According to the Safai Karamchari Andolan, over 300 manual scavengers die every year while cleaning sewers and septic tanks. These people are our fellow citizens, yet they are condemned to suffer in silence. Their humanity disregarded. Can we call ourselves a civilized society when people are dying simply because they were born into a particular caste? Caste-based discrimination is not always in your face anymore, but it still lurks behind job roles, societal expectations, and economic opportunity. Dalits even in 2024 are often relegated to the most dangerous, low-paying jobs. In villages, despite the progress we pride ourselves on, the caste system still determines who gets what job. Dalits are denied education, Dalits are denied land rights, and Dalits are denied opportunities because they are expected to know their place. But this place is not natural. It's a constructed place upheld by those who benefit from their oppression. And here is the twist. Despite all this, the Dalit community is resilient. They have survived. They have survived centuries of exploitation, and today they are fighting harder than ever for their rights. But why is this fight even necessary? Shouldn't dignity be a birthright? Shouldn't opportunity be equal for all? There are modern day heroes who have emerged from this struggle. Social reformers, activists, and brave individuals within the Dalit community are breaking barriers, refusing to be bound by the chains of this caste system. Yet the journey is far from over. The problem is not just with those who practice discrimination, it's with those of us who remain silent. Silence is complicity. If you don't challenge the system, you are helping to sustain this system. So, what can we do to finally break these chains? Let's ask the question to ourselves. First, education. Not just academic education, but education about our history, about the deeply ingrained castes in our culture. So we need that type of education, that type of awareness. The governments must implement and strengthen affirmative action policies, and society must offer more than lip service. We need systematic change, stronger legal enforcement, better access to education, better access to healthcare, better access to housing for Dalits. But perhaps the most important thing we need is empathy. Let's break the cycle. Let's break the cycle of caste from within. Every conversation, every action we take either uphold or dismantle the caste system. We need to stop pretending that caste is an ancient problem that no longer exists in our society, because the reality is right there in the hands of those forced to clean our waste in 2024. Every life has dignity, and it's our duty as citizens of this country to ensure that no one's dignity is diminished just because of their birth. Where some people are condemned to live in filth while others sit in comfort. It's time to move beyond the chains of caste once and for all. Together, let's ensure that manual scavenging becomes a story of the past, and that every job is one of dignity and respect. Imagine a young, talented individual born into a lower caste in a village. No matter how bright or hardworking he is, their dreams are often overshadowed by their caste identity. They may have the potential to be a doctor, they may have the potential to be an engineer or a business leader, but society has already written their story before they could even begin. They are marginalized, they are segregated, and they are denied opportunities, not because they lack talent, but simply because of their caste. Let's put some numbers into perspective. Over 200 million people in India belong to Dalit or scheduled caste community. Nearly 40% of them live below the poverty line. That's double the national average. Why? Because caste discrimination. Caste discrimination limits their access to education, employment and resources. It's like running a race where the rest of the competitors are halfway to the finish line while you are stuck at the starting point, shackled by your caste. Take education for example. Schools in rural India still practice subtle forms of discrimination. Dalit children access to quality education is compromised at times. If you are denied proper education, what chance do you have in breaking the cycle of poverty? No education means no job means no income, and no income means staying stuck in the same vicious cycle of generations. Employment discrimination is even worse. Many Dalits are still confined to menial jobs such as manual scavenging, cleaning, or working as agricultural laborers. These jobs pay next to nothing and come with social stigma. In urban areas, even if a Dalit gets educated and applies for a job, they are often rejected outright if their caste background is discovered. A report by Oxfam India in 2022 showed that Dalits are nearly 50% less likely to be called for a job interview compared to others with the same qualifications. And let's not forget land ownership. Upper caste people, though a minority in terms of numbers, they control more than 40% of agricultural land in India. On the other hand, Dalits and other marginalized communities often do not own land. They either work as bonded laborers or forced to lease land at high rents. How can we expect someone to rise out of poverty when they don't even have the basic asset of land to sustain themselves? Now some people might say, but we have reservations for Dalits and background caste, right? Yes, we do. But reservations are just one part of the solution. The deeper problem is the social mindset that continues to see people through the lens of caste. Poverty is not just about the lack of money, it's about the lack of dignity, it's about the lack of opportunity, and it's about the lack of equality. Caste discrimination removes all three. It removes dignity, it removes opportunity, it removes equality. The real solution lies in the dismantling of the caste system itself. We need to stop treating people as second-class citizens based on their birth. We need to educate our children to value people for who they are, not what caste they belong to. And we need to demand accountability from our institutions to ensure that caste doesn't dictate someone's future. So, let's open our eyes and let us see caste discrimination for what it is, because it is a major roadblock to our nation's progress. If we truly want to eradicate poverty in India, we need to start by eradicating caste-based discrimination. Only then we build a society where every individual has the chance to rise regardless of the caste they were born into. Let's not wait for another Baba Saheb to come and fight for us. Let's be the change ourselves. History shows us that whenever someone dared to stand up against this system, they were silenced. They were silenced sometimes very violently. In more recent times, progressive thinkers like Kalburgi, Gauri Lankesh and Pansare, they were assassinated for daring to speak against this caste-based oppression. One man who stood strong against this system was, in those days, Periyar of Tamil Nadu. His relentless fight against caste oppression continues to echo today, especially in Tamil Nadu. We owe it for future generations to break free from these chains, to dismantle this inhuman system once and for all. And so, the time for action is now. The responsibility lies with each and every one of us. It's a complex, but at the heart of it, this caste-based discrimination boils down to two fundamental things. One is food and second one is marriage. These two are powerful markers of who we allow into our inner circle. It is an unspoken rule in many parts of India, even among people who claim they don't believe in caste system. They will say, I don't see caste. But in the next moment, they will refuse to eat with someone once they discover their caste identity. And then marriage. We have all seen it. People prefer to marry within their own caste, their linguistic group, their social circle. Why? Because there is a comfort in shared values, shared traditions, and shared customs. But this desire to preserve purity in marriages reinforces the idea that some groups are inherently superior to others. It strengthens the caste system, making it difficult to break free from its grasp. Every time a marriage is denied because of caste, it's like another link in the chain of oppression. Now, let's not pretend that this is a problem unique to one community or one region. Discrimination based on caste is as old as history itself and is found in every corner of the country. It is seen in the workplace, it is seen in the schools, it is seen in the marketplace and even in our own homes. The exploitation of marginalization and suppression of people based on caste is not just an outdated relic, it is a living, breathing reality today. The irony is, those who benefit from this system, those who benefit from this very caste system often complain about reservations for the lower caste. They say it's unfair that it is a perpetuate casteism. But let's be real here. Reservations exist because caste discrimination still exists. You cannot end without the other. If there were no caste system, there would be no need for reservations. But until that day comes, until we truly annihilate caste, reservations are necessary to give marginalized communities a fighting chance. Even today, when they do get an education, they are still discriminated against in job interviews, in promotions, and even in day-to-day social interactions. Removing caste-based reservations without addressing the deep-rooted discrimination that still exists won't solve the problem. It will just create a new kind of injustice. And in film industry, where are the stories of Dalits in the mainstream media or mainstream movies? We don't see many films with a lower caste protagonist because even our entertainment is biased. Our history books too, they are skewed focusing on a few upper caste stories while ignoring the struggles and contributions of so many others. Even after death, there is a different place for cremation reserved for those considered lower. The barriers never seem to disappear. Caste is a man-made construct designed to control, and it's time we destroy it completely. And yes, it's not just about changing laws, it's about changing our mindsets. We need to ask ourselves, is there any benefit to having a caste identity in today's world? If the answer is no, then we must keep asking that question until we truly believe it. So, let's stop making excuses. Let's stop clinging to outdated systems that serve no purpose other than to oppress. The caste system has been around for millennia, but that doesn't mean it has to stay. If we want to progress as a nation, we must break free from the shackles of caste and create a society where everyone, regardless of birth, has the same opportunity to succeed. Let's take a moment to reflect on how we as human beings have evolved from tribes to communities, from civilizations to nations. We have always moved forward. We have always moved forward by working together. Today, in this highly interconnected and globalized world, we must continue this journey as one nation. Discrimination based on caste or based on any other factor has no place in the future we are building. Those who truly understand this will not divide people. They will join hands to fulfill each other's dream and help each other achieve their fullest potential. We have the power to succeed. We have the power to succeed and pave the way for others who will come after us. So let's remember that the true strength of humanity lies in unity and equality. In recognizing that we are all in this together. No more boundaries, no more divisions. Let's build a world. Let's build a world where every person is defined by their own efforts and accomplishments, and where everyone has the chances to achieve their dreams. Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar devoted his life to the upliftment of Dalits and backward classes. But his fight is far from over. It is our responsibility now to carry that fight forward. We must speak out against this caste-based discrimination wherever we see it. We must challenge the system not just with laws, but with our actions, with our words, and with our hearts. The fight against this caste-based discrimination is not just about ending inequality for some people. It is about creating a better society for each and everyone. Let's make sure that future generations don't inherit this broken system, but instead inherit a world where they are judged by their actions, not by their caste. That's the India we should be striving for. And it's time we stop pretending it doesn't exist, or that it's not as bad as it used to be. It's still here. It is still here. That caste system is still here among us, just in different form. And the fight against it must continue. Thank you.